the forest-clad hillsides of central Austria, the Styrian region and the Osterreichring, one of the fastest circuits in the Grand Prix circus and scene of round 11 of the 1983 World Championship, the Austrian Grand Prix. The crowds have been thronging here for days, tents, caravans, they've come on foot, by helicopter, and there is the man on pole position who's averaged 147.9 miles an hour in practice, Patrick Tambay of France, in the Italian Ferrari.
Hi, Mum.
So, two Ferraris, in fact, on the front row, because René Arnoux is alongside him, and there is the car and the man who currently lead the World Championship, Alain Prost of France. 3 wins already have scored him 3 sets of 9 points to help him towards that 42-point total, and that gives him a 9-point lead at this stage of the championship over the man in second place, Nelson Piquet, with the Brabham. There you see in third and fourth place the 2 Ferrari drivers, Tambay, who didn't score a week ago in Germany, and Arnoux, who won conclusively in Germany. Keke Rosberg, without the benefit of turbocharged power, still there in 5th place. John Watson, who will get turbocharged power in a couple of weeks' time with the new McLaren, in 6th place, ahead of Cheever and Lauda in Renault and McLaren. And what a circuit this is. So many of the more modern circuits have too many tight corners. They're what the drivers call Mickey Mouse, but nobody could accuse the Osterreichring of being Mickey Mouse. The corners are very fast. They're uphill, downhill. The long top straight up in the hills, which is in the bottom of the picture as you see it now, the cars are touching 180, 190, sometimes 200 miles an hour before they go into that corner at the end of that long straight at 155 miles an hour. There the cars coming round to complete their final warm-up lap, and we look at the grid. The 2 Ferraris, Tambay, Arnoux on the front. Nigel Mansell, who's been going very well in the Lotus, and Piquet on the second row with the Brabham. Prost and Patrese, Renault and Brabham on the next row. Then Giacomelli's Tolman, Cheever's Renault. Baldi in the Alfa, Warwick in the Tolman. De Cesaris and De Angelis, Winkelhock and Lauda, the Austrian, the local hero here, of course. Then we've got Rosberg, Johansson, Watson and Alboreto, Thierry Boutsen, the Belgian, Jarier, the Frenchman, Guerrero and Sura, Sullivan and Lafitte, and at the back, Ginzani and Fabi in the 2 Azellas, both of them qualifying this time. All the field now coming up into their positions, those 2 Ferraris on the front. Tambay has pole, Arnoux alongside, or just behind him on these staggered rows, the staggered grid that we have here. On the second row, that third car in the picture, the black car with the gold number on the nose, is Nigel Mansell. He's got the white and dark blue Brabham of Piquet, and the slightly crookedly parked Renault behind is that of Alain Prost. The green light, everybody's away. Oh, and you saw a glimpse of Piquet making a charge of a start there. As Piquet comes storming alongside, did he get ahead of Nigel Mansell? They've got a tight chicane to come to, which is the first corner. Here they are, and it's the 2 Ferraris, Tambay, Arnoux. Mansell is still, no, Mansell's dropped to 4th. It's the Brabham that is through to 3rd. Then we've got Prost, Patrese in the other Brabham, and Cheever. And, oh, some tight traffic there. Lafitte is hit. Sura hits him, and that's Fabi in the blue Azella hits the brakes. Watson hits him. Mark Sura there almost cannoning into a Marshall, his front right-hand wheel awry. So Mark Sura, the Swiss, clearly out of the race. John Watson got a damaged nose cone there. A very tiresome first lap schmozzle, which could have put 3 or 4 cars out of the race. We'll bring you more detailed news of it when we can. But very clearly at the front of the field, the 2 Ferraris, it's Tambay, it's Arnoux, it's Piquet challenging for 3rd place through that downhill 155-mile-an-hour Bosch curve for the first time. And along onto the central straight, that's Nigel Mansell in 4th place in the picture. Mansell closes up under braking on the Brabham, and Tambay is pulling away a little bit on this first of 53 laps. A downhill left-hander, the Texaco Chicana. Tambay, Arnoux, Piquet. Oh, and Prost has gone through to 4th. Prost is ahead of the Lotus of Mansell now, and that is the Tyrrell of Danny Sullivan being dragged out of the way. Obviously one of several cars involved in that first lap drama as through the Jochenrit curve for the first time to complete 1 lap. Tambay, Arnoux, Piquet, Prost, Mansell, Patrese and Cheever. All the fast turbo teams with the Lotus in the up there. The Lotus using the turbo Renault engine now, of course. The 2 Ferrari turbos lead. It's a BMW turbo for a Brabham 3rd, and then the Renault turbo of Prost 4th. Derek Warwick is well up there, and already on lap 2, this race being run at a furious pace. Niki Lauda there, of course, very much the local hero here in his native Austria, going strongly with the McLaren number 8, but nothing like as quick on this circuit where power is so important as the turbocharged cars. They're the leading 4 turbos going over the brow towards the Bosch curve. Tombe, 27, with the blue helmet, Arnoux, 28, with the white helmet, and already Patrese has now moved ahead of Mansell, and Mansell is under a lot of pressure from Eddie Cheever. This is Piquet in the fast downhill Bosch curve. Piquet so anxious to score points here today. Remember, he's second in the championship now, and the man that he most of all wants to keep behind him is Prost, as we see Cheever closing in the second Renault on the Lotus Renault of Nigel Mansell. Into that long downhill corner, the Renault closes on the Lotus, and that's John Watson coming out of the pits. He's had a very quick pit stop at the end of his second lap to replace that nose cone with its crumpled wing that he got at the very first corner of the race, and that's dropped John Watson right to the back of the field. Mauro Baldi there leading his teammate Andrea De Cesaris as we complete now 2 laps and start the third, and still these 2 Ferraris stamping their authority on the race. Tombe, Arnoux, Piquet, Prost, Patrese and Mansell, the first 6 there. And I say the Ferraris are stamping their authority on the race, but they're not really getting away very much. And Tombe and Arnoux are both having to keep the pace as hard as they can to keep away from the very quick Brabham of Piquet. The turbo Brabham BMWs always seem to go well here. Remember last year they were extremely quick, although Piquet and Patrese both retired, but while they were going they were at the front. Once more into the Bosch curve. Tombe, a very neat tidy line, drifts the car out to use every inch of the road as he comes onto that middle straight and down to the Texaco chicane. Now we see them put the brakes on, and once more closing up under braking. That's Prost closing on Piquet. That's the battle for third place. Oh, and he does close right up. They all close up on René Arnoux, the second man. Tombe out of the picture at the moment. And this is very, very close stuff indeed, and it's a long time since we've seen a Grand Prix run quite as closely as this leading 5-car group, with Mansell in fact still there in 6th place, so it's a 6-car group through the Jochen Rindt curve for the third of 53 times. And over the start-finish line, Tombe has a little tiny bit of a lead. We'll get the watch on it as soon as we can. Then the 2 Alphas going through in 7th and in 8th and 9th places, in fact. The Alphas themselves turbocharged, but not quite as quick. And everybody using every inch of the road. You see little puffs of dust coming up as the exit to that uphill corner means that every inch of the road is needed. Clipping the apex, looking for split seconds here and split seconds there, and always the pressure on this very, very fast track, over the brow, down the hill. Tombe, Arnoux, Piquet, Prost. The Bosch curve once more, and Prost is staying close to Piquet. There you see the gaps, 0.8 of a second between Tombe and Arnoux, but 0.4 of a second between Arnoux and Piquet, and 0.4 between Piquet and Prost. Then Patrese and Mansell about 0.8 of a second apart in 5th and 6th place. We've still got Cheever in 7th place, and then the 2 Alphas of Baldi and De Cesaris next up. The turbocharged cars absolutely dominating this race, as everyone expected they would on this extremely quick circuit. Arnoux in 2nd place there. And remember that we've got pit stops to come in this race. There's a course car, just a glimpse there of a course car on the track. Now, I don't know what that means. There may well have been some incident out of our sight, but a course car on the track. The race continues at unabated pace. Tombe through the chicane, leading the field still. And Cheever has dropped back a little bit from Nigel Mansell. And that's Mauro Baldi and Andrea De Cesaris in the opposite way round from the way we usually see them. De Cesaris behind his number 2 driver, Mauro Baldi, the young Italian. up the hill to the top straight. And it's over that brow and down the other side that they were reaching speeds of 200 miles an hour in practice before they have to brake and change down to fourth for this horrifyingly quick downhill Bosch curve. There's Baldi and De Cesaris, and still Baldi ahead of De Cesaris. Although Baldi, I think, coming under some sort of pressure there from his teammate as they go through the Bosch curve. 8th and 9th places for the two Alphas. De Cesaris, who went extremely well in the German Grand Prix, and De Cesaris closes there under braking on Mauro Baldi. De Cesaris having his best ever finish last week in the German Grand Prix, and that looks like Stefan Johansson in the Honda. It is Stefan Johansson in the turbocharged Honda, the most recent recruit to the ranks of the turbocharged cars. He wants a push. I think he's just simply spun off, and he wants a push to get away from the marshals. As we go back to the lead, and Arnoux perhaps closer now to Tombe in his effort to stay ahead of Piquet and Prost. Those first four having pulled just a little bit away from the Brabham of Patrese, who's next up, and Nigel Mansell still battling for 6th place with the Renault of Eddie Cheever. And as I was just saying, pit stops are going to play a part in this race. Remember that all these quick cars at the front are going to make pit stops. Oh, and Arnoux is challenging. Arnoux is hurrying Tombe there. René Arnoux doesn't want to be delayed by his teammate Tombe, and he was just alongside him under the braking area for the downhill Bosch curve. It didn't do him any good because he's now had to drop back a little bit, but once more he closes the gap just a little under braking. Tombe still the leader, René Arnoux second. And no team orders between these two. They both drive and race to win. They're both pretty close in the World Championship. They both want to win. Tombe smarting from the fact that his normally so reliable Ferrari let him down in Germany last week. Through the Jochen-Rindt curve. This is coming up to complete lap 14. They've got a back marker in front of them. And lapping back markers always a problem on this fast circuit if you come up behind them at the wrong place. But it's one of the Azellas, I think, and it's keeping well out of the way as Tombe is through. This is lap 15 now. Arnoux is through. Piquet and Prost are both through. It was Ginzani in the Azella there, keeping well out of the way. And Tombe, perhaps hurried up by that little thrust from René Arnoux last time through the Bosch curve, has pulled out his lead once more. And Tombe the fastest lap, 1:34.112. That's actually running about 4.5 seconds slower than they were in qualifying form. But of course, in qualifying form, these turbocharged cars do have their turbochargers running at higher boost pressure than they do in the race, where they tune them down a little bit for reasons of reliability. But tuned down they may be, but there's no doubt that these Ferraris are immensely quick, even in race trim. There, the first two, Tombe, Arnoux. Arnoux in that characteristic crouch in the cockpit with his white helmeted head thrust down in the cockpit. And still Piquet dogging them in 3rd place, and Prost awaiting developments in 4th place. There they are, the first four, with in 5th place the second Brabham, Piquet's teammate, Riccardo Patrese. The Brabhams, of course, using the 4-cylinder BMW turbo engine, 6-cylinder turbo for the Ferraris. Tombe just clipping the curb there a little bit in the chicane, so an uncharacteristic little bit of untidiness from him as we see Roberto Guerrero, that is, in the Theodore, together with the Lafitte Williams, both of them about to be lapped, neither of them anything like in contention with their non-turbocharged Cosworth-powered cars. And the leading Ferraris coming up behind them, Guerrero and Lafitte. In fact, Lafitte having a little go at getting past Guerrero as the Ferraris loom large in their mirrors. into this very quick downhill curve. Lafitte hasn't got through, and Tombe just delayed very briefly. Lafitte keeps to one side, the two Ferraris go through, and Arnoux very close to him now. That definitely delayed Tombe. In fact, Tombe doesn't get past Guerrero in the Texaco chicane, but this time Arnoux hanging back just a little bit. He's waiting to see which way Tombe is going to go. And still, as they go over the brow, still the Theodore, now the Theodore is past. Tombe chops across, Arnoux takes the tighter line as they go into the Jochenrindt curve, but Guerrero certainly not making it particularly easy for them that time. And the Brabham and the Renault are both themselves only now coming past Guerrero. And now as we start lap 17, these back markers clearly playing quite a role here. So many fast corners. It's, oh, and yes, that's Prost going through. Prost forces his way through and actually clouts the Brabham of Piquet. Prost elbowing his way up into third place there. And that definitely is not what Piquet is going to want. We've got Arnoux challenging for the lead once again, but Prost is not going to please Piquet. Piquet has got by again. Piquet very, very determinedly forcing the Brabham back past Prost, and Patrese, his teammate, coming up to help, so that now we see once again what happened. Piquet in the white car, Prost takes a tight line, forces his way through. The Brabham is clouted by the Renault, which goes across the curb, but already Prost has lost that third place that he had so briefly, because Piquet has stormed back past again, and all of that has allowed those two Ferraris, all of that excitement has allowed those two Ferraris to get ahead, to pull away quite considerably, in fact. And the start of that incident was Piquet starting to go a little bit wide into the chicane. Prost was determined to take advantage of Piquet's little mistake. He did so, but Piquet has stormed back again. So Brabham's now third and fifth, and very much the meat in the Brabham sandwich is the Renault of Alain Prost. Coming up now to start lap 18 of the 53. And those two Ferraris out in front. Tombe still the leader from Arnoux. Piquet back into third place, Prost fourth, and remember those two men, there you see them, number 5 Piquet, number 15 Prost. Those two men are second and first at the moment in the World Championship standings, and a lot of needle between them. Riccardo Patrese is next up. There's Stefan Johansson in the Honda. He's had a pit stop after being pushed away from spinning off, and he has now just been passed again by Niki Lauda in the McLaren. Niki Lauda going strongly and leading at this stage the non-turbocharged race with the Marlboro McLaren. Niki Lauda having his last non-turbocharged race, he hopes, because we should be seeing the TAG Porsche-powered McLaren in a couple of weeks' time in the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort. Lap 21. Tombe, Arnoux. Coming up now to lap Jean-Pierre Jarier in the Ligier number 25. Jarier also going strongly and well up in the non-turbocharged race. Prost still behind Piquet and still anxious to do something about that. And they've dropped Patrese just a little bit. That is Jarier, and that's Tombe and Arnoux. Piquet and Prost. The first four having closed up again now among these back markers. And Tombe coming up now to lap the Ligiers. They go along that top straight. Oh, and the Ligier shuts the door. Jarier closing the door on Tombe there. I thought he was letting Tombe through, and Arnoux is getting very close now. Arnoux right up with Tombe. Tombe must now find a way past Jarier. Oh, and Jarier chops right across his nose. Tombe has to go the other side, and again Jarier shuts the door. That is an extraordinary piece of driving from Jean-Pierre Jarier, very experienced Frenchman, who has to be lapped by the leader, and he's just chopped across the front. And Arnoux is going through. Arnoux has boxed his teammate Tombe in behind Jarier, and Tombe has to brake quite hard, and Arnoux has taken the lead. Arnoux is lapping now the Stefan Johansson car, and the Brabham's gone through as well. That was Nelson Piquet taking advantage. Yes, a very angry Tombe. Piquet took advantage of that traffic jam there, and Tombe shakes his fist at Jarier, who unmercifully blocked him. Prost is still there in 4th place. So we have a new leader, and it's all due to Jarier blocking Patrick Tombe. And while all that was going on, we've got the first pit stop now. That is Prost coming in for his first pit stop, but Tombe moved down to 3rd place, and Nelson Piquet is now number 2. Now here's the first routine pit stop. 4 tyres are going to be changed. 30 gallons of petrol going in. A little shake of the head from Prost in reply to an interrogative thumbs up from the team manager. 11.5 seconds, it's a quick one. Now we'll have to wait and see where that will put him in the race, but remember that all the front runners are going to have to start. Prost is the first to stop. They're all going to have this refueling pit stop. And as we look out and see once again the leading battle still working its way through back the markers, there is our leader René Arnoux, with Nelson Piquet still dogging his wheel tracks in 2nd place. Past Jacques Lafitte, who keeps well out of the way. That is a much more mature approach to being lapped from Jacques Lafitte. Arnoux storms by, and Nelson Piquet does too, and Piquet has his eyes set on victory, I think. René Arnoux, of course, has his eyes set on a 2nd Grand Prix victory in 8 days, because remember, he won in Germany. But look at Piquet closing up in the Texaco chicane. There's Tombe in 3rd place, a no doubt extremely angry Tombe. You saw him shake his fist on the screen at Jarier. What you didn't see, although I could see from my commentary position here, was he then shook his fist at the Ligier pit as he came past at the end of that lap. The normally mild-mannered Patrick Tombe, very, very angry indeed. That's Riccardo Patrese lapping the Williams too, squeezing by on the uphill run up to the chicane. And we can now tell from our lap chart where Alain Prost has come out as we look down the order. René Arnoux, the leader in the Ferrari, of course. Nelson Piquet's Brabham still 2nd. Patrick Tombe's Ferrari still 3rd. Riccardo Patrese is 4th as we see Cheever coming in. Cheever was in 5th place. Nigel Mansell was in 6th, and Prost had come out in 7th place. But this is the 2nd Renault coming in. Cheever also shaking his head. And that is a very quick one, 10.7. Nigel Mansell has gone by into 5th place, but 10.77 seconds for 4 tyres to be changed. That's as quick as I think a Renault pit stop has ever happened, and that must rival the quickest Brabham pit stops. It's usually the Brabham team who really started the fashion for routine mid-race pit stops. It's really the Brabham team who are normally the quickest, but 10.77 seconds stationary for the Renault. It loses some time actually coming in and going out as well, in comparison with the people running a full-speed race lap, of course. But nevertheless, 10.7 seconds, very quick, and we've got the leading 3 now bunched together. There's 4th man Patrese, but we've now got this wonderful 3-car battle. Lauda, who's been lapped in the picture there in number 8 McLaren. There's Guerrero, who's well down. He's been lapped a couple of times. But a wonderful 3-car battle. That's the world champion, who's also well down. That's one of the Azellas coming through. There's the unpopular Jarier also going through, and there is the Prost Renault, and he's going very quickly indeed. The caption tells us 1:33.9 on his fresh tyres. So Prost out again and going extremely quickly. I say on his fresh tyres, but in fact that tie was just before the pit stop. He's now got more weight of fuel on. He's got new tyres to scrub in. So that quick time before his pit stop. But clearly Prost is very anxious to make the best of a good pit stop, and the men in front of him have still got to stop. And a bad stop for any of them will put Prost well ahead of them. So critical that these mechanics do their job as quickly as possible. That's Jarier again. So Prost's got to find his way past Jarier again. As we revert to the leading battle with René Arnoux' Ferrari, Piquet's Brabham, and Tombe's Ferrari all running close together. There's the Brabham, there's the 2nd Ferrari of Tombe as we see Arnoux over the brow, Piquet and Tombe. All of them still have pit stops to come. And they're very, very close indeed, covered by... Oh, and that's Arnoux, the leader, coming in. Arnoux coming in. Now, this is crucial. This is the leader making his stop. The stopwatch at the ready as the car stops now. Up on its jacks, the red helmeted Ferrari mechanics working away with the tyres and the fuel, and it's 11.2. There's nothing at all wrong with that either. René Arnoux stationary for 11.24 seconds, and that's Patrese. Patrese also having his stop. We didn't get the watch on it, but it's away, and I would reckon that was perfectly quick, a perfectly good routine stop for Patrese. But Arnoux out again after a quick stop, and that has of course put Nelson Piquet into the lead, but Patrick Tambay is with him. There is Jarier once more having his stop. So one of the non-turbocharged cars stopping. And one of the tyres was slow, one of the front tyres was slow, but it's 13.4 for him. And we've got a battle for the lead because there are the two front runners who haven't stopped yet. The leader, Nelson Piquet of Brazil in the Brabham. In second place, Patrick Tambay, the man who led from pole position, the Frenchman in the Ferrari, and Tambay very, very close indeed now. They've both got to stop, but Tambay wants to get ahead. Over the start-finish line now to start lap 30 of the 53. And Tambay tucked into the slipstream as they go up the hill. Tambay challenges over the brow. Up into the chicane. He's not going to be able to do it there, surely. No, he doesn't. He has to tuck back behind the Brabham. But Piquet under real pressure now. And yet again, they've got a back marker ahead. Oh, yes. Piquet using a little bit of the dirt as he came out of the chicane there. That won't have slowed him up very much, but it's enough to make Tambay have a go. Tambay goes through on the inside. Patrick Tambay retakes the lead. Tambay retakes the lead on the way along the fast top section up to the long straight. Patrick Tambay back into the lead that he lost in that controversial lapping incident with Jean-Pierre Jarier. Nelson Piquet is demoted to second place, but Piquet knows that he's still got a pit stop himself. Tambay still has a pit stop too, and almost anything could happen. René Arnoux has made his pit stop, is safely back out again as we watch once again Tambay, a classic manoeuvre, getting on the inside for that slight right-hand curve, and nothing at all that Nelson Piquet can do about it. He just has to let the Ferrari through. And once more the back markers have to be coped with, because now it's one of the McLarens ahead of Tambay and one of the Azellas. It's John Watson who passes the Azella. Watson with his fresh nose cone, which lost him a lap with a pit stop at the end of the second lap. So well done, John Watson, although his teammate Niki Lauda, the Austrian in his Austrian Grand Prix, is currently leading non-turbocharged car. Oh, and that's Patrese going very, very slowly, right up on the Bosch curve. Storming past goes Chiva, and Patrese's race, I think, is run. Riccardo Patrese's race surely is run. Yes, he pulls off the circuit. No smoke, but whatever it is, it's a mechanical problem. And we've got Tambay in the pits. We've got Tambay in the pits as we were watching Patrese retire. But this is the new leader in the pits, and it's not a quick one. No, it's all over for the Ferrari. Yes, Tambay is out of the cockpit. So short a time in the lead. Patrick Tambay is out of the cockpit. He's out of the race for the second race running, for the second weekend running. Patrick Tambay's normally so reliable Ferrari has let him down. World champion Keke Rosberg in the pits, tearing the throwaway visor away. The mechanics running out of the way. It wasn't a very good one. It was 22 seconds plus for Keke Rosberg, and he's well down as we watch Nigel Mansell in. Now, this is Mansell's pit stop. Mansell still running there in the championship points with the turbo Renault power in the Lotus. This is the latest Lotus 94T. Oh, and that's a good one. Most of the tyres done after 7.5 seconds. One front tyre a bit sticky, 14.6 seconds. As so often happens, 3 of the tyres went on terribly fast. A little bit of trouble with the front right-hand wheel nut. But Mansell back into the race. after a 14.6 seconds stationary stop. Once again, of course, it will have lost him more than that. And there's Piquet. Oh, and that is a quick one. 10.2. A great spurt of flame from the turbocharged BMW engine. That was one of the McLarens going away. That must have been Lauda's McLaren going away from its pit stop. And now look at this. Piquet has come out after his stop right in front of Arnoux after his. So there is the battle, and this is the battle for the lead. Arnoux on the inside of Piquet. The reverse way round, it's the outside of Piquet as they go onto that right-hand curve, but Arnoux challenging Piquet, who came out of the pits. He's on his fresh tyres, which he'll want to scrub in, but he hasn't any time for caution. He's got to hold on to that lead from Arnoux, and Arnoux's one side, then the other. Piquet looking from his one mirror to the other, trying to keep the door shut. So the pit stops have, as they often threaten to do, make the race very, very exciting indeed, because this is the battle for the lead, and Piquet has come out of his pit stop right under the nose of René Arnoux. Now, his tyres should have been warmed up now. You can't go flat out on your tyres when they're absolutely fresh until they've got warm and sticky. And now they will have done with a furious half lap, and now Piquet can perhaps pull away a little bit from René Arnoux. Over the brow, down to the Ockenried curve to complete 32 of the 53 laps. And is Piquet pulling away from the Ferrari? On the straight, is that Ferrari going to be able to tuck into the slipstream and pull closer up to the Brabham? It does just a little bit as they go up the hill into the tight chicane under the Parmalat Bridge, and Arnoux closes under braking, clipping the apex very neatly that time. Nelson Piquet, and the flash of yellow behind is the other front runner, who of course has also made his stop as we see Lauda come in. It was Watson we saw earlier, no doubt, because this is Niki Lauda coming in for his stop. Power wrenches, take off the wheel nuts, off come the old wheels, on go the new ones, in go the fuel behind Lauda's head. And 12.3 seconds, that's nice and quick, 12.3, and Lauda back into the race. Several of the non-turbocharged cars, of course, not stopping, but the McLaren team now stopping. As we go back to the battle for the lead, they've just lapped Stefan Johansson's Honda again, and Arnoux is not close enough this time as they come down to the Bosch curve. Once he'd got his tyres warmed up, Nelson Piquet managed to pull away. He so nearly lost the lead to Arnoux. He kept the door firmly shut. What Jarier did very naughtily when he was being lapped, Piquet did quite legitimately when he was trying to hang on to the lead. Now, once again, a car to be lapped. One of the Azellas once more. Over the bumps goes Piquet. He's tucked in behind the Azella. He darts to the right to go over the brow. And is that going to delay Arnoux, or is Arnoux going to muscle his way past? That's the ATS going very slowly there. That's Manfred Winkelhock in the BMW Turbo ATS going very slowly, and I think heading for the pits. But the yellow car now tucked in behind them is, of course, Alain Prost. Those three cars, the three-car battle for the lead. And what a wonderful Austrian Grand Prix this is proving to be, because Alain Prost is right up there now. He has closed on the Ferrari, and we've got a three-car battle for the lead. There is Winkelhock, as we thought, crawling into the pits. Once more, the ATS has proved unreliable, and the all-German team of Schmidt, the team boss, ATS, and Manfred Winkelhock, the German driver, in trouble once more here in Austria. They didn't qualify at all, of course, for the German Grand Prix last week. Now, Arnoux's close again. Arnoux is up to Piquet once more, and Prost is not far behind. Downhill through the Bosch curve, 155 miles an hour. Back into top gear, 185 miles an hour. Oh, yes, and Arnoux is challenging. Arnoux had a little look at the inside as they come down to that left-hander. Watch him close up under braking once more. But Piquet very much aware of the danger. Over the brow. And Prost close also, up over the hill, down to the Ockenrind curve. And Prost is there in third place. This is lap 37 now, coming up to the completion of 37. And Piquet still the leader. Arnoux as close as he can be, but not close enough to challenge yet, I think. Up the hill to the chicane. It is close enough to challenge. No, Arnoux had a little think about going up the inside, but that, I think, would have been another wheel bumping incident, and he decided to wait. Not this time. But he doesn't want to delay too long, because Alain Prost is closer all the time. Nelson Piquet fending off René Arnoux, and Arnoux through! Arnoux is through exactly where... No, but Piquet nearly fights back, but Arnoux is through just where Tombe did it. Oh, and Prost goes through as well! Prost is alongside as they go up over the brow, down towards the Bosch curve. Can Piquet hold on to second place? They're side by side. Very, very fast section, but Piquet has the inside. Now they come down towards the downhill left-hander, and it's there that Prost has the inside line for the Bosch curve, and Prost goes through into second place. Piquet down to third, the new leader René Arnoux, the Ferrari. So on lap 38, Nelson Piquet has gone from the lead down to third place. All these three cars, remember, have had their pit stops. They're on fresh tyres, and now it's a battle all the way through to the 53rd and final lap. And Arnoux, the leader with the Ferrari. Now, what is Alain Prost going to do? Prost has closed on that leading battle. He's come through to second place. He's followed Arnoux past Nelson Piquet. Is he going to be able to close on the Ferrari? The current championship leader, he knows that if he can score a clear win here, there's Nigel Mansell, and Mansell still going well. In fact, with the departure of Riccardo Patrese, Mansell still going strongly there, although he is about to be lapped by the leader René Arnoux. And a little gesture there from Mansell, a little gesture showing René Arnoux that he wants him to go through on the inside. And Mansell now splitting a lap behind the leader, splitting the first and second men, as we see once again this wonderful battle, wheel to wheel, with Prost coming past Piquet into second place. Piquet had the inside line for the left-hand curve that leads to the right-hand of the Bosch curve, but of course by the time they get to the Bosch curve, it's the Renault on the inside, and Prost is through into second place. Alain Prost, always calm, unemotional, a very disciplined driver, very much perhaps like Niki Lauda in his championship year. Works every race out, and he'll be sitting in the cockpit of that yellow Renault trying to think what he can do to vanquish René Arnoux. René Arnoux, a man who drives with his heart, but produced that very smooth win in Hockenheim a week ago. But I think Arnoux is definitely not getting away from Prost. And now is the time to remind you, of course, that there is absolutely no love lost between these two men. They were teammates in the Renault team last year. There were team orders which said that Prost must win and Arnoux must come second, where the two cars had no serious threat when Prost was well ahead in the championship. And Arnoux countermanded those team orders, having said that he would allow Prost to win. It was at the French Paul Ricard circuit in front of their home crowd. And from that point, Prost said, one of us has got to leave the Renault team. It's got to be Arnoux or me. It was Arnoux that left and went to Ferrari. And so far, it's put Prost at the head of the World Championship and Arnoux down in fourth place. But at the moment, Arnoux, I think, under quite a considerable threat from the very determined little hook-nosed Frenchman, Alain Prost. Still the worry of these back markers to find their way past. Oh, that's Niki Lauda, a man who's always very disciplined about being lapped. And he stands, I think, some sort of chance of getting into the championship points here, despite his lack of turbocharged power. His V8 Cosworth developing perhaps 520 horsepower, and that's getting on for 200 horsepower less than the Ferrari engines are developing in their race form. Niki Lauda looking forward to having turbocharged power next week. He's been saying to the Austrian press that he's quite happy that this should, all being well, be his last race with a Cosworth engine behind him. But that's, of course, perhaps doing scant justice to the tremendous record of the Cosworth engine, which in its various forms has been winning Grand Prix races ever since 1967. The Keith Duckworth designed Ford-backed Cosworth engine, the DFV, which has won so many Grand Prix, now vanquished by the Renault philosophy. There is Alain Prost, and there's 8.5 seconds between Prost and the third man, Nelson Piquet. So Piquet has dropped well back from that leading battle. No longer is Prost challenged by Piquet. He doesn't have to drive defensively. He can simply concentrate on getting feet by feet, inches by inches closer to the back of that red Ferrari ahead of him and his sworn rival René Arnoux. Through the Jochenrindt curve now to complete 42 laps of the 53. So 11 laps only left to run. Up the hill, perhaps they're not quite so close. This time Prost not close enough to have a go. That was where he got past Piquet's Brabham at that earlier wheel-banging incident. Passing Danny Sullivan's abandoned Tyrrell. Michele Alboretto's Tyrrell also out of the race, so not a good race for Tyrrell. And incidentally, they came to practice, the Tyrrell team, with their new car, the 012, the Tyrrell 012, designed to use turbocharged power next year, although still using the DFV this year, but they haven't raced it. Both of the Tyrrells, the earlier 011 cars, and both of them out of the race. And only one surviving Ferrari, and it's in the lead, René Arnoux, through the Bosch curve now for the 43rd time. Once more some back markers ahead of them, and once more that could play a role in this battle for the lead. 10 laps and a bit still left to run. Very, very hot here, 82 degrees, and you get a glimpse of the size of the Austrian crowd here. In front of the leader is the car carrying number one. That's, of course, the Williams of reigning world champion, Keke Rosberg. He's got the arrows of the Belgian Thierry Boutsen ahead of him. Thierry Boutsen, who's made a very good account of himself in his first few Grand Prix. And Rosberg lets the Ferrari through and tucks in behind it and tries to find a way past Boutsen as he does so, and does so. That's a world champion's manoeuvre. You wait until a faster car's going past the car that you want to pass, and then you get tucked in behind and slot through as well. Boutsen pulls out of the way there for Alain Prost, the second man. Prost is still behind Keke Rosberg, whom he has to lap. And Rosberg now lets Prost through, once more tucks in behind, but you can see the power of that Renault pulling strongly away from the Cosworth-powered Williams. And perhaps a moment now to tell you that Frank Williams has announced here in Austria his turbocharged plans for next year. He will, as was much rumoured, be using the new Honda engine. Not only that, but we're not going to have to wait until next season to see it. Frank is hoping to have the first Williams Honda Turbo for the Brands Hatch race in September, and he has guaranteed that he's going to have two cars for Rosberg and for Lafitte for the final Grand Prix at Kyalami in South Africa in October. So gradually everybody going turbo. And who can wonder when we watch the speed of the turbo Ferrari and the turbo Renault? That was Jarier being lapped once again, and this time he didn't get in anybody's way. Although Alain Prost in second place has still got to get past him as they come over the start-finish line. This is lap 45 of the 53. Boutsen going through behind Rosberg. And yes, forcing past Jarier, although I don't think Jarier made it terribly easy for him. Forcing past Jarier there, you had a glimpse of the second man, Alain Prost. Rosberg having trouble today getting away from Boutsen. He's had 2 pit stops in this race, and I don't think he's a very happy man. Clearly the Williams not giving him his best. If you remember how quick Rosberg and the Williams, how competitive they were at the beginning of the season, even in Brazil. And of course last year they were the combination that won the World Championship. That is the McLaren of John Watson, closing on one of the Azellas. Watson, no hope of finishing in the points after his early pit stop, but nevertheless a typically gritty drive from the Irishman, who's had all sorts of luck this year. He's had victory and he's had failure. So often the McLaren hasn't been quick in qualifying, so often John Watson has had to storm his way up, and Prost is closing. Prost is getting very close to the Ferrari now. This is lap 45 of the 53, and Alain Prost suddenly is right up with René Arnoux through the Jochen Rindt curve to complete lap 45 and start lap 46 of the 53. And surely Alain Prost is now poised to pounce. Arnoux moves over to the right of the road to block Prost. Prost goes over to the left, but there's nowhere surely he can go through there. Into the chicane. René Arnoux under real pressure now from Alain Prost. This is the battle for the lead in the Austrian Grand Prix. What a race it's been. We've had Tombe leading, we've had Piquet leading, we've had Arnoux leading, and Alain Prost now wants to get in front. Up the hill, the Ferrari pulls away a little bit, so that challenge didn't come off for Prost. Now he's got to close up again and look for his way past. But as they go into the fast section, way above me at the top of the hill, over the brow, the slight left-hand kink before they go down to the Bosch curve. And that's where Prost tried that superb manoeuvre earlier on Nelson Piquet. He's not close enough to the Ferrari to do it this time. And now as they go down the central straight and into the Texaco chicane, it's not a chicane, but it's called the Texaco chicane, and that is where braking is so important. And on braking, I don't think the Renault... Oh yes, the Renault does close. The Renault closes right up under braking. Makes up yards on the Ferrari there. And then accelerating away up over the brow and down towards the Jochen Rindt curve. The Ferrari eases away a little bit. Always Austria seems to provide us with exciting races. It was this race last year, you may remember, which gave us a side-by-side finish between Keke Rosberg and Elio De Angelis, with De Angelis just taking the race by a nose. Prost not close enough in the chicane this time, but closing all the time in the tight sections. He seems to be able to get very close to the Ferrari under braking, and then as they go away, the Ferrari accelerates away. Now, this crucial top section, the left-hand kink, then the right-hander that follows it. Arnoux still the leader, but Prost waiting for his chance. Now, this is lap 47, and now Prost is going to want to get close to see if he can attack at the Bosch curve. If he's going to do it, this is a good place to try. Having a little look at the inside for the left-hand kink, and I don't think he's close enough. Can he close up under braking? He gets very close, but not close enough. 155 miles an hour through that frightening downhill fourth gear right-hander, and now Prost gets close once more under the braking for the Texaco corner. The Ferrari eases away on the brakes once more. That's where the Renault closes, within a car's length. Out of that section, away over the brow, up now towards the Jochen Rindt curve once more, and he's not close enough to attack over that brow, I don't think. So Arnoux is able to take the classic line. He doesn't have to keep the door shut, so he takes the fastest line with the wide entry. That was the gap at the end of 46 laps, 0.4 of a second, but it's less than that as they start lap 48. Mansell is fifth, incidentally, behind Cheever. We've got Cheever in fourth place, Nelson Piquet a distant third, but all eyes on the battle for first. René Arnoux and Alain Prost, and both of them driving absolutely on the limit, and Prost is absolutely alongside, and that's where Prost has done it. A quite surprising place. I think he kept that up his sleeve. He gave Arnoux absolutely no warning. That isn't a place where he's challenged earlier. A very canny, intelligent, secretive move from Alain Prost, and it's put him in the lead. This is lap 48, so with Less than 6 laps to go. Alain Prost has taken the lead in the Austrian Grand Prix, and is Arnoux going to be able to fight back? Down into the Bosch curve, he's certainly not close enough, and it's now that Arnoux must be feeling so demoralised. He's fought that defensive action against Prost, and Prost has taken him by surprise. He closes a little bit under braking for the Texaco corner, but not nearly as much as Prost was closing on him. And clearly the Renault, or the combination anyway of Prost and Renault, has the advantage over the combination of Arnoux and Ferrari. Over the brow, down to the Jochen-Rindt curve. Does Arnoux close at all? Still the head tucked determinedly down in the cockpit. René Arnoux, never say die. As we see Niki Lauda, who's now in 6th place. Lauda going well, not only leading the non-turbocharged cars, but actually currently in the points. He passes the Honda of Stefan Johansson, which has had pit stops but is still going. And Johansson may have turbocharged power, but he can't prevent himself from being lapped by the determined and very smooth Niki Lauda. Up over the brow, and we're looking now at the watches to see how much Prost has pulled ahead. There you see it on the screen, and Arnoux is definitely vanquished. This is lap 50, 3 laps to go on the completion of this one, and Prost looking so confident. He's won 3 Grand Prix already this year, and he's really had to work for this one. From 4th place through to the lead. French drivers dominating this race, because of the 4 leaders we've had in the race, 3 of them have been French, and we've got an all-French combination. The French car, the French engine and the French driver at the front. Car number 15, Alain Prost. Prost laps Stefan Johansson and comes up to lap Niki Lauda, the 6th man. Nigel Mansell still 5th. Prost's teammate Eddie Cheever is still 4th as they start the 51st of 53 laps. And up over the brow goes Prost. Niki Lauda, as ever, professionally lets him through. He knows what it's like to lead a Grand Prix. And Prost, interestingly there, actually slightly on the dirt as he came out of the chicane. So he's still trying very hard, and in fact the race not over yet, because you saw a glimpse there of the Ferrari just behind Niki Lauda, and Prost doesn't indeed want to be delayed at all in any of his lapping manoeuvres, because René Arnoux could fight back. Arnoux tucked in behind the McLaren now, and still not past it actually. Lauda, looking in his mirrors, pulls across to the right of the road, and Arnoux immediately rushes through and pulls right away from the McLaren. There you see the Renault going out of screen as the Ferrari chases it down the middle straight. But Arnoux certainly not close enough as he goes into the Texaco corner. And we look back now to 3rd man, Nelson Piquet, a distant 3rd. Suddenly and abruptly, when he went down to 3rd place, he just seemed to lose speed. I wonder if that Brabham engine is not giving of its best now, because certainly Nelson Piquet, not only back in 3rd place, but actually being caught in these closing laps. This is lap 51, so a lap and a half to go. But Nelson Piquet being caught now by Eddie Cheever. Renault's 1st and 4th, Ferrari 2nd, Brabham 3rd, and a Renault engine in a Lotus in 5th place. That's Nigel Mansell. Mansell, I think, probably disappointed because he was 3rd on the grid, but his Lotus just not seeming to have the handling here. It may well be a matter of tyres, because it's Michelin tyres on the leading Renault, it's Goodyear's on the 2nd place Ferrari, it's Michelin's on the 3rd place Brabham and the 4th place Renault, and it's Pirelli's on the 5th place Lotus. Very often one tyre manufacturer will have just the right combination of tyre construction and tread for the particular combination of road surface and temperature, and it is certainly very warm here in Austria, and I think warmer than most of the teams were expecting going by the temperature in practice. There's Prost working his way past yet another back marker, and this is where he doesn't want anything to go wrong. As he goes up over the brow, down to the Jochen curve to start his final and 53rd lap. 3 wins already this year for Alain Prost, the man who said at the beginning of the year he was determined to be the first world champion that France had ever had. The 2 Azellas going through, both of them qualified, which was a surprise, both of them still running with their V12 Alfa Romeo engines this late in the race. Alain Prost through the chicane for the final time, up through the gearbox, away, up into the hills. That's a much steeper uphill section than it looks on the screen as Prost rises away from the crowded start-finish area through the right-hander that leads him onto the very fast top section for the final time. Up over the brow that will take him towards the top straight where they were doing over 200 miles an hour in qualifying. And Arnoux himself still there, not far behind, himself working his way through the back markers, past those Azellas. But he's not going to be close enough, is he? Down through the Bosch curve for the last time for René Arnoux. It's going to be 2nd place for Arnoux, barring the most extraordinary change of fortune on this final half lap for Alain Prost. Prost into the Texaco left-hander. And his mirrors now empty, no back markers immediately in front of him as he goes up over the brow for the last time. The checkered flag down here on the start-finish line is waiting for him as he goes into the Jochen curve down the hill. A wonderful drive from 4th place to 1st, so professional, so smooth, so determined. Alain Prost wins the 1983 Austrian Grand Prix. Here comes the Ferrari of René Arnoux, so near yet so far. 2nd place for René Arnoux. The Azellas take the flag, and we wait now for the Brabham that will be 3rd of Nelson Piquet. As Lauda crosses the line, the Stefan Johansson Honda comes home. And is that Brabham going to lose? It doesn't. I said, was it going to lose its 3rd place? Because you saw a yellow flash of the Chiva Renault, which was 4th, and a little wave to the crowd for René Arnoux, who hasn't completed his slowing down lap. He has parked just up the hill out past the chicane, so clearly all not well with Arnoux mechanically at the end of the race. 6.8 seconds the gap, so it wasn't very long, but a further 21 seconds down to Nelson Piquet, and less than a second between Piquet and Chiva. He only just hung on to that 3rd place. Mansell gets 2 points for his 5th. Niki Lauda 2 laps down, but gets a point for 6th place and is 1st non-turbocharged car home. But what a wonderful race for Alain Prost. He must be very, very satisfied with his afternoon's work, because that was no flag-to-flag win. That must have been one of the most exciting Grand Prix we've seen for a very long time. 4 different cars led, but on the lap that mattered, it was Alain Prost, and look what it's done to his World Championship points. 51 points. Nelson Piquet has 37. Arnoux moving into 3rd place ahead of Tombe with 34. Tombe stays on 31. Rosberg stays on 25. Now that means that whatever happens 2 weeks hence at Zandvoort, Prost will go to Monza, the Italian race, with the championship lead still in his pocket. And although it's not all over yet, with 4 races still to go, Alain Prost now looking very much the favourite for the 1983 World Championship title. Niki Lauda coming in behind him, Stefan Johansson finishing in the Honda despite various pit stops, and the Austrian crowd must be very, very well satisfied with a great race. Satisfied too is Alain Prost. The spoils of victory, a tired-looking René Arnoux on the left, and already we're looking ahead just 2 short weeks to Holland, the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort, where we'll have new turbos, new cars, more excitement. Join us in Holland 2 weeks hence.